All right, guys, let's talk about habits for a second. And before you tune me out, because it feels like we're talking about sort of the oldest trick in the book, this is not going to be a boring conversation. This is going to be exciting. And I want to use two illustrations to talk about the importance of habits when you're on mission. And the first is the story of a teacher and a student. All right. A teacher wanted to teach the student the value of habits. And so he took him out into a field and he challenged the student to, as they were looking at a sprout of a tree coming out of the ground, he challenged the student to pull the sprout out of the ground, and the student did it without effort, right? Then they approached a tree that came up to his knee. You could tell it had a season or two of growth, and the teacher challenged the student the same. See if you can pull this one out of the ground. And sure enough, he pulls it out. Then he's faced with a tree that had a year or so of life that was as tall as he was. And the teacher said, see if you can pull this one out. And with all his effort and all his might, minutes later, he manages to get it out of the ground, and he's proud. And his teacher points to a 200-year-old oak tree just to his left. And he said, all right, now I want you to pull this one out of the ground. And the student didn't even think about it before he said, that's not possible. And the teacher said, therein lies the power of habits. The older they are, the bigger they become, the more roots they have established, the less things around them consider challenging them, right? The more rooted we are in the habits that we produce for ourselves, the harder it is for anything else to come against those habits. The more we will stand by those habits through thick and thin. So that's story number one. Story number two talks more about something that Darren Hardy talks about in his book, The Compound Effect. And it's the idea that you ever been asked, like, all right, I'll give you $1 million a day. I'll give you $1 million today, or I will give you a penny today, and I will give you twice that tomorrow. And I'll let the amount that I give you daily for the next 30 days double every single day for the next 30 days. Which would you say yes to? Well, those of us looking for instant gratification, obviously we take the $1 million up front. Those of us that have heard this fable before know that on that 30th day, we're getting a $5 million plus check on that 30th day. I don't know the total amounts, but at the end of the day, what we're seeing is when we're willing to take a little and let it collect some interest over the time and build over time, what we have down the line amounts to way more than when we settle for instant gratification. This is the power of habits, and I want to challenge you guys with that today. I want to ask you, what are the things that you do every single day, right? If you'll continue doing those things, then eventually that habit will take roots. Eventually that habit will produce fruit. We'll see life emerge. And listen, it's not going to happen as fast as you want it to. But this is what separates successful people from unsuccessful people. This is what separates people that say they're on mission and people that actually accomplish their mission, is they're willing to invest in themselves in habits. All right? Habits. Don't forget why you're fighting for these habits, but habits will be the thing that separates successful people and unsuccessful people. Accept the challenge. In the future, we'll be talking about specific habits that you need to build in, but we needed a little bit of vision before we get into that conversation. So be on mission. We'll see you in the next one.